Hello and welcome to the Butler Collegian Newscast. I'm Jake Bedell.
And I'm Chuck Levine. We'll be filling in for Catalina and Nikki as they have the week off.
And we've got great news to kick off this week's show. The Butler community was introduced to the furriest new friend last Wednesday, Butler Blue 4. A 12-week-old English bulldog made his debut to the public January 22nd to widespread fanfare on campus and beyond. Tripp's successor made his first appearance online and made visits to local media outlets before being introduced to the Butler family in front of a sold-out Hinkle Fieldhouse Friday evening. In Lion King-like fashion, he was held up by his owner, Evan Krause, to more than 9,000 cheering fans. To get student thoughts, the Collegian took to the streets to find out what they had to say about the mascot in training.
Just from like a marketing standpoint, I know so far like this new dog has brought a lot of attention to Butler, both like in Indiana but also throughout the United States. So I guess I'm excited to see where this marketing takes Butler and kind of how it helps make Butler more visible to different people across the nation.
I'm just excited to get to see him all the time and see him grow up.
I think I'm excited to see him run out like Tripp does, like once he like takes over.
It's like progression, I think, because right now he's just like a puppy, and I think that we're so used to like Tripp being this like old like veteran dog that like really knows his ways, but like a puppy is like a puppy, so that's gonna be really exciting to like have this like energy and like maybe some mischief that he's gonna bring, but that'll be adorable.
I'm excited to see him grow up and to interact with students and hopefully bring in new Butler Bulldogs.
Boy, he sure is adorable. Butler's health initiative, BU Be Well, is now offering an online screening tool for both mental health and substance abuse. The tool is called MindWise. It's a free and anonymous website that can be accessed directly off the HRC website on the self-assessment page. MindWise offers 12 different options that are all phrased as personal statements that students may be feeling but are uncomfortable telling other people. The Assistant Director for Health Promotion and Wellness, Katie Wood, said that the new service should only be used as a replacement for the first step on one's journey to mental health, but does not replace a diagnosis or seeking a healthcare professional.
The campus group Leading Women of Tomorrow will be running a new series titled Unraveling Bias Against Women in a collaborative effort with Dr. Gina Forrest. The group is a student-ran organization with the goal to encourage more women to go into public service roles in an attempt to bridge the gender gap of the industry. Maria De Leon, president of the group here on campus, says that they strive to hold events every month. Since it was introduced to campus in fall of 2019, the organization has received acclaim from professors across campus, and many encourage their students to attend the gatherings that are hosted. To find more, you can visit the Leading Women of Today on their Instagram page. The event dates for this semester have yet to be scheduled. Now, for this week's special guest, we bring on Collegian sports writer Drew Favekah to discuss his latest article on a former basketball player who has found success beyond the United States borders. We have Chelsea and the Groves in the studio with us now. Chelsea, over to you guys.
Thanks, Jake. I'm joined by staff reporter Drew Favekah to talk about his new piece called Where Are They Now with Rodney Clark. Now, he played for Butler for 1 year, a transfer from Arkansas, graduated from Butler in 2013. What's the scoop with him?
Yeah, so it's been 7 years since he graduated from Butler. Like you said, he played 1 year here, so just kind of, he's played overseas now for 7 years. He's played in Australia for his first 2 years, then went to Belgium. And then he also went to Germany, and now he's in Italy, Mantova, Italy. He has 3 kids and a wife, and they live in Italy, and that's kind of the update now. He's playing in the 3rd division, so in a lower league than he has. He's played in more of the top leagues in Australia, Belgium, and Germany, so it's a little bit of a different feel for him, but he's still averaging 19 points per game, so he's still the guy that a lot of Butler fans remember.
Yeah, he was definitely that sharpshooter that people always remembered. But, you know, one thing in the article that I saw was that he has the aspiration to play in the NBA. What's the status with that?
Yeah, so he definitely has an aspiration to play in the NBA. Last summer, he had a tryout with the Oklahoma City Blue. His friend Cameron Woods, who also played with Clark for a year, and I'm sure a lot of Butler fans remember him. He's an assistant coach now with the Blue, so he invited Clark for a tryout, and it seemed like Clark had a great tryout, but he was already kind of bound to a contract with Palinsestro Mantua, which is his team now. So I got the sense that he didn't want to risk it. You know, he has a family. He's trying to provide for his family. That's kind of his main goal. But next year, he hinted that he'd be receiving another tryout from the Blue.
And one thing you also mentioned was the time difference. So how was it kind of organizing that back and forth? Was it difficult doing that?
Yeah, it was super difficult. Honestly, I messaged him over Twitter, I think in September, when I was kind of eager to get a story out for the Collegian. He didn't respond to that, and then I messaged him again. And the third time I messaged him, and I said, you know, a lot of Butler fans would appreciate you. Just an update on how you're doing and how your overseas career is going. Because aside from a few, you know, appearances on ESPN throughout the years on ESPN or SportsCenter's Top 10, he's been out of the public spotlight for a while, especially to Butler fans. So he responded to that, and we set up an interview. I think it was in early December is when I interviewed him, and we talked for about an hour, and it went really well. But yeah, I think you know, it's a 7-hour time difference. He has 3 kids running around, and he trains twice a day. You know, I can't imagine how tough that is on him. But he seems to be getting along just fine. He seems like a great dad.
Yeah. Well, Drew, thank you for your time. And thebutlercollegian.com, you can check it out. Back to you.
Definitely we'll have to check that one out in this week's paper. People all over the world are doing their part to support the wildfire reliefs in Australia. As of mid-January, it's estimated over $200 million have been raised, but fundraising is not the only way people are making a difference. Butler biology professor Carmen Salisbury is using the power of education in an effort to affect change in environmental protection. Salisbury uses real-world examples in her lessons to educate students on the science behind the danger of climate change, so that they will be able to take action in the future.
Next, global analyst Kat Embry is with us to talk about her reaction to this year's Grammy Awards that took place this past Sunday. She's here for this week's edition of Kat's Corner.
Thanks, guys. This past Sunday was the 62nd annual Grammy Awards. It was an oddly somber affair from previous years, as it was taking place at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, just hours after LA Lakers legend Kobe Bryant died. Nominee and performer Lizzo kicked off the awards by announcing, "Tonight is for Kobe." However, the night belonged to 18-year-old Billie Eilish, who swept the awards with all 4 of the night's biggest prizes: Song of the Year and Record of the Year for her hit Bad Guy, and Album of the Year, along with honours for Best Pop Vocal Album. In the end, Billie Eilish spent the same amount of time on stage as host Alicia Keys. Usher also performed a fun tribute to former Prince, as well as Demi Lovato, who made an emotional comeback to music after her overdose and hospitalisation in the summer of 2018. The crowd gave her a long-standing ovation. However, there was controversy rolling underfoot this year, as behind the scenes there was a significant amount of disagreement. Just 10 days ago, the CEO and president, Deborah Dugan, who was the first female chief of the company, was accused of bullying. There's also been other bombshell claims recently that Dugan's predecessor has sexually assaulted female artists during his time in charge and bribed voters. Both deny these accusations and are unconfirmed. It's certainly fair to say that despite some successful performances this year, the Grammys faced many problems in 2020, which was summed up by host Keys wrapping up the night saying, quote, "We got a lot to change, we got a lot to do." Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Kat. Now we head on over to the world of sports, where Jake will give us the updates on Butler athletics. But first, some news that is the whole world on a standstill. Jake?
Thanks, Chuck. Yeah, it really has. The world was informed of the devastating news that NBA legend Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, along with 7 other passengers, were killed in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California this past Sunday. Bryant was one of the most accomplished NBA players in NBA history, winning 5 titles, 2 Finals MVP awards, 18 All-Star nominations, an Academy Award for his short film Dear Basketball, and much more. Beyond that, he was a father of 4 daughters, a coach, and a mentor, helping to guide them toward their promising futures. The oldest, Natalia, is an accomplished volleyball player, and Gianna had taken up basketball just as her dad. A recent memory of Kobe was shared by former Bulldog and now Boston Celtic Gordon Hayward. Following a gruesome leg injury in the first game of the 2017 season, Kobe gave Hayward words of encouragement, stating, quote, "It's a long journey, But if you focus on the many milestones along the way, you will find the beauty in the struggle of doing simple things that prior to this injury were taken for granted. Many NBA teams have honored him by taking 24 and 8-second violations in the game since the incident, in tribute to the numbers he wore as a Laker. The accident comes as a stark reminder that physically we are all mortal, but what we do in life can impact those around us and live on forever. It reminds us to be better people and to do kindly to one another, for every day we wake up is a blessing in and of itself. The world mourns the loss of the 41-year-old and all who perished in the accident. Our very own Donald Crocker will have a column in this week's paper on the matter. On a lighter basketball note, last week was filled with highs and lows for Butler hoops. The men struggled to shoot the three ball against then-ranked number 9 Villanova on Tuesday. They only hit a quarter of their attempts beyond the arc. Despite the Butler defense holding Nova to 38% shooting, 5 Wildcats ended up scoring more in double figures, and the team shot 21 from 23 from the free throw line. The Dogs fell on the road 76-61, but a key storyline from this game was Christian David, who suffered a torn ACL and is out for the rest of the season. Additionally, Aaron Thompson is expected to be day-to-day tending to a wrist injury. Friday evening, the Dogs were back at home and against Marquette, and perhaps more exciting than the new mascot was the on-court performance. The defense really stepped up against Marcus Howard and prevented him from reaching his typical scoring totals. The Golden Eagles led for most of this game, but the Dogs steadily trimmed their lead, and with little time remaining, Kamar Baldwin took over. The senior scored 9 points in the final 2.5 minutes of the second half, and an interesting decision by Marquette to foul him gave them a chance to take the lead when he went to the line, but a last-second three-point opportunity tied the game for the Golden Eagles and sent the game into overtime. The heat streak continued in OT, and Baldwin scored 29 of his 31 points after halftime. The momentum swing and the sold-out crowd helped Butler to the 89-85 win. Baldwin's performance also gets him Big East Player of the Week honors. Still, he couldn't have done it on his own, and with the injuries of Thompson and David, the rotation was altered and will require bench players to step up. Luckily, the Bulldogs have the depth necessary to be able to compete when not everybody is healthy. For more on this supporting cast that the Butler unit has put together, we send things over to Chelsea Groves for this week's edition of the Collegian Basketball Breakdown.
Thanks, Jake. Hey, Hoops fans, Chelsea Groves here with the Collegian Basketball Breakdown. Butler snapped a 3-game losing streak with an 89-85 win over Marquette last Friday without their starting point guard and best defender Aaron Thompson with a wrist injury and valuable asset off the bench in Christian David out for the rest of the season with a torn ACL. Jordan Tucker slid into that starting spot, and Henry Badley got minutes where David would have, playing a season-high 31 minutes, finishing with 10 points and a solid defensive effort against the nation's leading scorer, Marcus Howard. I'll cut right to it. Here is why this win was so impressive. Marquette led by single digits most of the game, trading baskets, but Butler outscored their bench 19-5, went 27 for 31 from the free throw line. Those are really big factors to me, especially late, and it didn't hurt that the Big East Player of the Week, Kamar Baldwin, who showed a lot of emotion and leadership in this game, led the way with 31 points, 29 after halftime. My biggest takeaway from this game, it was encouraging to see Badley and others step up, but in reality, they need Aaron Thompson. This team is clearly not the same without him. I'll go back to the Seton Hall game a few weeks ago. That game sticks out to me because Thompson was in foul trouble, only played 3 minutes in the second half while Butler was outscored 48-30. If Butler is going to make a deep run in March, it needs its facilitator and top defender healthy. Jake, back to you.
Thank you, Chelsea. In women's hoops, the Dogs are deadlocked in a 3-way tie for second in the Big East following a productive road trip that resulted in a pair of wins over Creighton and Providence. Against the Friars, Butler had a difficult time shooting the ball. They only shot about 25% of their opportunities from the field. Still, the defense forced Providence to take difficult chances, which they were unable to connect on, and Butler made a late 9-0 run to take home the win 50-47. Sunday afternoon, they took on the Blue Jays, and it was a complete turnaround for the Dogs offensively. They shot 48% from the field and hit half of their three-point chances. 3 Butler players finished with double-digit points, led by Christian Spoyer with 25. The attack offensively led Butler to the 73-67 win. They've got a 3-game homestand coming up next, which starts off with a home matchup against Xavier this Friday. So it should be an interesting week coming up, but we do have breaking news, Chuck, unfortunately. Former men's tennis head coach Parker Ross, who is at the Oklahoma University now, passed away this past week. We were just informed from a stroke that he suffered in Colorado. He led the Butler Bulldogs to the 2017 Big East Championship. He was 36 years old, so not a great week in terms of news, sports stories.
Yeah. That's all for this week's Butler Collegian Newscast. Stay up to date with all things news on Butler's campus. Visit us at thebutlercollegian.com or on Twitter at Butler Collegian. I'm Chuck Levine.
And I'm Jake Bedell. Have a great week, dogs.